I know I talked about this before, probably in the season recap video, but it is amazing how a couple of things and one season can change the entire trajectory of an organization, like it did for the Washington Commanders in 2024. In that 2024 and even a little before that, what all happens? You got Daniel Snyder is out as a team owner. Finally, mercifully, the worst owner in the NFL is out the picture. That's a big win. Then you move on from Ron Rivera and such, and you hire Dan Quinn as your head coach and Adam Peters to be your general manager. You get some new leadership in charge of your day-to-day football operations. Then you take advantage of the second overall pick and you draft Jaden Daniels, and that just entirely changes the dynamics of everything just like that. You get the right guy at quarterback, man, it just makes all the difference. He started every game, completed 69% of his passes, 25 touchdown passes to 9 interceptions, almost 900 rushing yards, another 6 rushing touchdowns. Cliff Kingsbury, the offensive coordinator, was putting him in some great spots, and Jane Daniels was executing flat out. All that experience he had starting at college paid off big dividends in 2024 for Jaden and the Washington Commanders. And he even came up big in the 2 playoff road wins that they had against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Detroit Lions. It's just fascinating how a couple of key things go right and things just change just like that. This is a Commanders team you're looking at before last season, and I certainly did too. It's all about Jane Daniels. What does Jane Daniels do? Well, we saw what he did. He was an MVP candidate. He was Offensive Rookie of the Year, and deservedly so. And he led the team to a 12-5 record. They advanced to the NFC Championship game. I know they got beat up pretty bad by the Eagles in that NFC Championship game, but are you really going to begrudge a team with a rookie quarterback winning multiple road playoff games? That's historic, legendary kind of stuff. It really is. How could you be mad if you're a Commanders fan right now? If anything, you got to be sitting there getting hyped, thinking about this 2025 season and what you think could potentially happen. What a great turn of events for Washington in just a short period of time that shows it's possible for anyone. It is. Whether they do anything about it or not is a different story, but other organizations could have the same thing happen to them. And I think what this organization realizes, oh shit, we could contend, and we could contend right now, and it's time to go put ourselves in this position, in this spot where we can make that happen. Hence the trades for Laramie Tunsil and Deebo Samuel. And what I really liked about those deals was, even with bringing in Tunsil, you didn't give up a future first-round pick in order to make that deal happen. Sure, you gave up multiple picks, but Deebo was like a fifth-round pick. I think Laramie Tunsil was a second, a third, and some other capital. Both deals absolutely fucking worth it. So you're talking about a 12-win team that went to the NFC Championship game. Now you're adding a legit wide receiver too and a versatile weapon in Deebo to line up opposite Terry McLaurin. You bring in a legit top half of the league left tackle, maybe top 10 tackle in Laramie Tunsil. Those are significant upgrades. Significant. And you didn't have to give up a first-round pick for either of those guys. Then they went out in free agency. They signed Javon Kinlaw. They brought in Von Miller to kick the tires, see if they can get one more productive season out of him. Brought in Matt Gay to be their new kicker. Signed Will Harris. So, they had some dudes that they brought into the fold. But the big ones, obviously, the notable ones, are Laramie Tunsil and Deebo Samuel. They addressed the offensive line. They addressed their receiving core. Building around your young franchise quarterback. What a novel fucking concept, I know. They did have some notable departures, for a team that kind of came out of nowhere and had a great season. Guys are going to want to get paid. No fault of their own. Get your bag while you can. Jeremy Chinn's gone. Jonathan Allen's gone. Dante Fowler Jr.'s gone. In the case of Allen, it's a little different than the other two, but you get my point. There were some notable departures from a team that went as far as they did last year. You had some drama here in the offseason in terms of Terry McLaurin wanting a new contract and how that was all going to play out. He was holding in. Well, they got the deal done. Thank God for both parties involved. Listen, Terry's not a top 5 wide receiver in the league, but for the Commanders, he means a whole hell of a lot. And he's their wide receiver 1, and he's a respected kind of dude. He's a dude you got to worry about. So, yeah, they needed to get that deal done, flat out and period. And when you look at the NFL draft, like I said, they gave up some capital to bring in guys like Tunsil and Deebo, so you got to count that into the larger draft picture. But they did draft Josh Connerly, the offensive tackle from Oregon, in first round. He's a guy at some point in time you'll figure He'll either start over Andrew Wiley at right tackle or he'll slide into one of the guard spots. He's too good. He will eventually be a starter, and I think a productive one and a good one for this team. And then they drafted Trey Amos in round number 2, assuming he'll plug into the secondary at some point in time. Like, this is a team that probably has some designs on usurping the Eagles' reign on this division and trying to go chase a Lombardi trophy this year. The question is, are they types of team that can actually do that? Well, when you look at their strengths, obviously it starts with Jaden Daniels. Like, you've got a guy right now, you're already talking about a top 10 quarterback in the league. Some probably would argue that he's 5 or 6 in those rankings. And, it's only one season. That's probably the only reason you wouldn't sit there and default like saying, yeah, that absolutely makes sense. I need to see a little more before I go quite that far. But, if he puts up another even similar season to what he had as a rookie in 2024, he starts entering that elite conversation. He's that QB5 in the league, if you will. But he's the strength of this team above everything else. He's the straw that stirs the drink. He's the guy that can make everything else happen. Then you look at the receiving core. I mentioned Terry McLaurin. He's back with a new contract. Debo's there. They brought back Zach Ertz. They got Noah Brown. They've got a good, solid receiving core around Jaden Daniels. And you look at their defensive interior. It's ironic, isn't it, for a team that a few years ago, their identity, frankly, not just on defense, but as a team, was that they had 4 former first-round picks on the defensive line. And Chase Young and Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne and Montez Sweat. Not a single one of those guys are left other than Deron Payne. And yet I'm talking about the defensive interior is a strength because you've still got Payne. They brought in Kinlaw. Then talk about behind them, you've got Johnny Newton and Eddie Goldman. Yeah, Eddie Goldman's still around, believe it or not. And then you got Bobby Wagner coming back for another year, future Hall of Famer. I would say first ballot, but I don't think he's gotten the type of media profile or attention that will get him a first ballot induction. But he absolutely is the type of player, top 8, 9 all-time middle linebacker, inside linebacker. He should be a first ballot guy. He won't be, but he'll get in a couple of years after eligibility. Anyways, those are some of the strengths. When I look at the question marks for this team, they traded away Brian Robinson. I do worry about the running game. I'd worry about the running game even Brian Robinson was still there, but especially now that he's gone, who the fuck's going to be the bell cow? And you certainly hope it's not going to be Jaden Daniels. On the other side of the ball, we talk about the running game. Their run defense, was definitely suspect last year. Saquon Barkley ate him up, and you have to wonder, did this team get a whole lot better in that respect? Is this a team that's going to be able to hold up against the run, or is this going to continue to be a nagging problem for them in 2025? And then you look at the offensive line to the right of Laremy Tunsil. You've got a bunch of guys I look at, they're average-ish to below average performers. Tunsil's legit, but the rest of that offensive line could certainly stand for some upgrading and improving, or at least at a minimum playing better in 2025. And we'll see how that all plays out. In terms of their schedule, you get a few key stretches here for the Commanders. Weeks 1 through 4, chance to start out of the gates well. You got the Giants at home. Then you got to travel to Green Bay. That should be a big one. Week 3, hosting the Raiders. Week 4 at the Falcons. So 4 games to start off the season, only one of them against a playoff team from last year. It's a good spot for the Commanders to be in. It gives them a chance to start off 3-1 or maybe even 4-0. But it gets a little tougher in the middle there, weeks 8 through 10. You've got Kansas City on the road, then you host Seattle, and then you host Detroit. Kansas City and Detroit obviously were 2 of the elite teams last year. Seattle was this close to making the playoffs. That's a stretch of schedule if you're the Commanders and you want to be serious and you want to threaten the Eagles in that division and you want a shot at going to the Super Bowl. You at least want to win 2 of those games at minimum. And then you look at the way they close out the season, 4 straight divisional games. Both of their matchups against the Eagles in Week 16 and 18, respectively. If you're the Commanders, you love the way that schedule flows out because you can kind of control almost your own destiny at that point. Your last 4, you road against the Giants, Eagles at home, Cowboys at home, on the road against the Eagles. If you come into that stretch of last 4 games or in a situation, you could be where it's you win out and you win the division. That's a pretty good spot to be. As I've been talking to Commanders fans around here, that I work with on the golf course, everything else, kind of a general consensus of vibe I've gotten is that they think this team is better this year, but they might not win as many games, but they might make as big of a run into the playoffs. And I kind of tend to agree with that assessment. Because you figure they won 12 games last year, but one of them was the Hail Maryland against the Bears, and Matt Eberflush and his defense, right? So how much does that really count? That would put him right at 11-6. Um, yeah, like it's hard from one season to the next. You've had some guys leave, but you got Jaden going into year two, and as long as he's healthy, there's no reason that in the NFC the Commanders can't contend. Why wouldn't they be able to? I don't see why they couldn't. I don't know if they're quite ready to take the Eagles' throne atop the division, but it's probably going to be a dogfight. So I think this is an 11-win team. They'll finish second in the NFC East and might be a team that nobody in the NFC wants to face in the playoffs.